Hello and welcome to the fourth instalment of No Small Questions, where you, the listener, get to pose your burning questions directly to the No Small Roles cast. My name is Sam Oakes, your resident question master, and joining me in the hot seats tonight, you may have found yourself sleepwalking to his dulcet melodies. It's our charismatic bard, Gaius, aka Mr. Chris Watts. And you better hide all your frosting, folks, because Gwendolyn's on the prowl. I'm delighted that the wonderful Grace Kelly Miller is gracing us with her presence. Yeah, sorry.
I love it.
I can't imagine Gwendolyn prowling, but I like the idea.
It's something to do with the way of decorum. I think it's a level 6 ability, but we'll get to
there
that.
we go.
Yeah, cool. I need to work that out now.
Also, a massive shout out to our live audience members. We have some people here tonight, and we are thrilled that they are some of our Patreon subscribers. And if you wanted to join us in this role, please do sign up to the Patreon and come join the fun. But they will be standing by to hear their questions answered just a little bit later in the show. And now, before we officially kick things off, I should warn you that this show contains spoilers. We will be discussing events and character choices right up to episode 25. So if you haven't caught up yet, go do that now.
Now.
You done it? Okay, let's get going. Now, question for you both. This is from Twitter, from Stuart Townend, at StewTown2583, who asks, if your character... Oh, this is great. If your character could have any mythical creature as a pet, what would it be? And also, if you could have one in real life, what would you pick? That's brilliant. Grace, do you want to take this one? You look like you have some mythical
now I'm
creatures in
feeling
mind.
like I need some sort of magical, like, jaguar or something like that after your prowling comment. But I think Gwendolyn would be down for a Pegasus or something like that. Because, like, horses are elegant, but also she could fly. And that would be super cool.
Aww.
I'd like her to fly one day.
Do you know,
soaring
I
through the sky.
You'd go with, like, Gubbins as a real thing. Like, you know, Gubbins becomes, like, a therapy unicorn.
That's a horrifying thought that Gubbins comes to life.
Oh my goodness. I wonder if it's in David's ideas already.
Oh my gosh.
Gubbins comes
he'll
to
be
life.
making
I don't... Yeah, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want Gubbins to come to life. I think Gubbins holds too many secrets.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are a little bit ahead of me, aren't you? So, has something happened with Gubbins? No, no spoilers.
No spoilers. Don't ask things like that, Sam.
He's the big bad guy.
Naughty
Gubbins is
question
the big bad
master.
guy.
I knew it. He's been teaming up with the Arcanist. And how about if it were real life? Same answer or different animal?
No, but see, I love animals, but I'm not sure if I can be allowed to be responsible for animals. Like, I would need some sort of magical fey creature that doesn't need to eat or anything like that. Yeah, I would need something that could just... I'd need a familiar, really, that could poof into existence and then poof back off when I'm too busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that would be unkind to an animal, which is why I like other people's animals, but I can't have my own.
Plus, there's a housekeeping
I'm
ability.
too busy and too Exactly.
I mean, it would be useful sometimes to be able to poof my Cocker Spaniel out of existence. Like, for example, when you're trying to lay floorboards and he's climbing on every single one. Yeah, I've had my fingers crushed many times this week.
Oh.
And just to be able to, like, poof him to a little demi-plane or something like that and then bring him back for cuddles, that'd be great.
Okay, so I've got a weird question. If a familiar is shedding everywhere and then it poofs out of existence, does it shed fur poof out as well?
Do you know what? That is a really good question.
But would a familiar shed fur because, like, they don't eat or anything like that? So would they have that? Like, they don't poop, so would they shed?
It's a bit... It's a bit like, you know, if you have, like, a deity and stuff, they don't really need to cut their hair. Or maybe they do. Maybe this is some
they can just
kind
make
of
it
lore
grow.
that other people have put into their games.
This is a rabbit hole we could go very far down, I feel.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway...
Let's say the shedded hair goes.
Yeah, let's say that.
Yeah.
Makes it easier for cleaning.
Well, let's get back to the question then. So, for you, Chris, what would you say? Mythical creature for your character, mythical creature for you?
So, Guy would like to have a siren, because even though they are deadly creatures to sailors, hey, he's not a sailor, so we don't care. I don't go out on the water. But I do think a siren appeals to him because of the singing aspect, the enchanting aspect, the fact it's very often in the image of a beautiful man or woman also plays into it, I guess. So immediately I just thought straight away to siren, which sounds like a hilarious joke. A bard and a siren spend the night together, and then so on. And for me, I think something like a blink dog, or just like a familiar that I think that's just the most easiest thing to think of, because like you said, I'd love to have a chimeria or something like that, a hippogriff. Why the heck not? But at the same time, where are you going to store a hippogriff?
Yeah,
the feeding aspect would just be through the roof. I can barely pay for my food. How on earth can I pay for all these sheep and cows I have to drag into my house? And I live upstairs, so how am I going to drag all these cows and sheep into my house to feed my hippogriff? It just, the logic just goes out the window there. So I think a familiar, I'm going to jump on Grace's answer and say that is exactly what I would do.
I agree, actually. Having it under the find familiar status, so that if that were the case, though, I probably would go for a flying creature, because with the spell's link, you could then see through their eyes and
you can change it to whatever you want, as long as you've got enough incense.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? The find familiar is kind of like when you're you've got 3 wishes. What do you wish for? Oh, I wish for 1 billion wishes, which is essentially that. You can change a familiar into anything you want.
But the question did ask specifically. But anyway, I did. Great first question. Thank you very much for that, Stuart. This is a question for both of you again. It's from Twitter, from Sophia Murphy, at Sophia Comic Art, who asks, I imagine it's instinct, as you're all professional actors and storytellers, but how do you balance being in character, coming out to ask DM questions, and keep the flow of the podcast and audience immersion in mind? Did you have discussions before the podcast began, or is it just good D&D and editing? Who wants to take that one? Chris, you answered last on this last one.
Yeah, I do have to say that I think Grace is the authority on this, or the expert, I should say. And also Grace has a far better memory than I do. I think there was an early conversation. Right, Grace?
Yeah, I think we kind of decided that we wanted to keep any conversations that we were having in character, anything where we're discussing stuff within the group, because we want to have that as our characters making choices. So it does make it very clear cut. If we're genuinely just asking David a question, we're very much coming out of character to say, DM, can we do this? Or baby David, can I do this? And changing character voice and stuff. So it is kind of consciously staying in character more often than we might do in say our home games, but I think it is very much instinct, just swapping in between, when you're talking as your character and when you're just talking as yourself. You get used to that dual personality, don't you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you do hear it even when there's not an OTT accent. You can tell the difference between when you're posing something yourself and what is actually canon and in game.
Yeah. I think for me, the bold choice of doing a New York sort of Bronx sort of accent straight away allowed me to just instantly go I'm talking as Chris, I'm talking as Guy, so it's very easy for me to do that. But I think also it's something that we developed along the time creatively and collaboratively, that we wanted to have this sort of role playing aspect, but we also wanted to have the aspect as well of us being all around the table and our listeners being around the table and being part of it as well. So it's it's okay if we mess up, or it's okay if mistakes are made, because hey, we've got editors, and we've also got our wonderful audience who don't care if we make a mistake and in fact thrive on it.
Do you make a lot of mistakes that we don't hear?
We leave a lot of them in, editing wise. If it's funny, we will leave it in, won't we? There was a bit, I think it was in The Faceless Footman, wasn't it, where Chris kind of tries out a bit of song, doesn't like it, and goes, nah, actually I say this, and we're like, yeah, but we're leaving that in because the other bit was funny as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So... There was a furious texting of just guys, can we just not keep this in? It's not very good. And they're like, no, we're keeping it in. It's fine. It's creative. And we're
Chris,
and I'm
funny.
No.
So, but we're all goofballs, and that's part of hopefully the charm of No Small Rules. I don't know. Why do you listen to us? Tell us on Twitter. But yeah, like, but then obviously there is, if we're doing a long rules check, of course we cut that out because you don't need to hear that. Like we keep in what we think is going to be interesting to the audience, hopefully.
Well, it definitely has a great flow. Thank you very much for that question. Let's move to... we've got our first Patreon question of the night. So, Pippa, if you're ready, over to you.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Grace.
Hiya.
Hi, Sam. Sorry as well.
Oh, it's all right. Hi.
Sam's here every week. We're special.
My question kind of goes more towards you, Grace, I guess. I really love the relationship between your character Anna and Kidu, and like the moments of tension, and the kind of general kind of Gwen Kidu relationship that's been evolving. Was this something that you had kind of planned in advance? Was it something that you had kind of like decided to, roll with if it happened in a particular episode? Was it completely spontaneous? Like, can you give some insight?
It was completely spontaneous. There was no plan for this to happen whatsoever. Our characters have just rubbed each other up the wrong way so badly. I think also in episode 3, we definitely had some internet connection stuff sometimes. And so I think some of the things that I heard as Grace, I thought Gwendolyn was hearing, and it sounded worse to her. So she just like, right, fine, I'm off. I don't need to be around you. And just, I think that's kind of also partly happy accident then as well. I think he was instantly abrasive to her because she's this privileged person coming into his space, and he's just like, nah, I'm not having any of that. So, and she is very prickly about being judged too soon. So they just the chemistry just worked straight away. And it's so funny because me and Daryl get on so well, and in our other home game campaign, our characters are married, but not kind of in basically my gnome bard Gregor Jones, he's a fabulous character and I love him a lot. Now Gregor Jones has decided that Daryl's character Azuki gave him a ring, therefore we're married. That's how it works, right? So they have this ridiculous, stupid banter and relationship. And then so for mine and Daryl's characters to then just have this tension between them, it was just really surprising, but it's so much fun to play with, as actors. And it's so much fun.
There's a great bit right early on where we're all by a campsite, and then David asks the great question. As always, when we rest up, he's like, "So who's taking watch?" And for some reason at that point, Grace and Daryl at the same time just went, "Yeah, we will," and then we all just went, just got out our popcorn and was just like, "How's this gonna go down?" It was great.
Yeah.
Was that the one where they just decided not to speak to each other? They had the most awkward watch
I can't
in
remember.
history. I can't
remember.
that one.
I remember it feeling so tense, as well, us recording it and we're having this scene sort of thing. And then, we have had, when we were briefly allowed to actually, be in the same house, me and Daryl were doing some recording together, and we were having these, conversations where our characters are falling out. But because we needed to be both close to the same microphone, we're there with our arms around each other. But, also having a fight at the same time is very surreal. But I love it, and it's so much fun to play with. So I'm excited I'm really interested to see how these characters develop and who backs down first, kind of thing.
I mean, I think there might be a ring involved later on. You might merge the Cavalcade characters and the No Small Rules characters.
I don't know. I think they're still both too stubborn. I think that if that ever happens, it's a long way off.
Yeah, but then when that breakdown... I'm looking forward to that. Episode 50. You heard it here first.
100 more like.
Thank you so much for your question, Pippa.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Amazing. And I'm seeing a familiar name here with a question for Chris. This is from Michael Cook, who asked this through Facebook. Was Gaius tempted to say nothing about the flute and mess with the others a bit?
Yeah, the flute. So actually, the thing about the flute that I was more concerned about was I had no idea what the flute was. I didn't know whether it was cursed. I didn't know whether it was going to be like absorbing my soul every time I played it. I didn't know where this music was coming from. And I remember actually specifically that we found out spoiler alert, we found out that the flute's abilities were pretty harmless. And I think that was a relief for me more than an excuse to mess with other people. because just the idea of this flute music, and David did such a great job with the flute being sinister but also like joyous, like it's that sort of thing.
Creepy.
Yeah, that really creepy sort of like, almost like a tickle on the back of your throat that you don't want. No one wants an unconsented
he
tickle.
introduced it as the Pied Pipe as well, which is a really ominous name to give something like that,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, it was like, I wasn't tempted so much as I was like, immediately suddenly went, ooh, I can move things within 15 feet if it fails. Like, I love anything where I get to be creative on the battlefield. Any opportunity where I suddenly go, oh, actually, rather than just, throwing another spell at it to do some damage, I'm going to make it walk 15 feet off the ledge and see what happens there. So it was an exciting thing. My mind went straight away to Battlefield or to something like that rather than to messing around with my friends. But thank you for throwing that idea in the mix. I will see what I can do later on. Feel free to throw any like suggestions for what Guy should do to people as pranks and stuff, because I am all down for that.
I mean, especially if they're sleepwalking over to you, the amount of things that you can do with that, especially if you got, because I'm pretty sure it works on anyone who it's been played on, right? Yeah. We had, like, who was it that came up to you? It was Juna and Orin at that point that were there. Yeah. If you got everybody to be doing it, imagine the things that you could draw on their faces, and I can't wait to see. Okay, have fun with that. Let's give a question to Grace now. This is from Twitter, from Darkest Argentum, at Darkest Argentum, who sent through a video that asked the questions, can you fight in a corset? And goes on to ask, does a steel bone corset count as armour or not? Or heck, a dragon bone corset, which could totally be a thing in a fantasy world. And have you thought about getting Gwen a Tessin, a Japanese war fan? It's a folding fan built to be used as a weapon. This one was made to hide the metal.
Ooh.
This is deep, and I love it.
It is. Okay, well, I mean, first of all, with the corset stuff, like, as Gwendolyn's a monk, I need it not to count as armour, because otherwise I can't do my unarmoured movement. So, from that point of view, but in general, I think, like, corsetry as armor, I mean, I'm sure it's been done plenty, but like I would definitely want that for like a different fighter character, and just have this like badass corsetry, just like steel bone, or like Darkest Argentum says, some dragon bone. I think that would be fucking cool. So I will be doing that at some point, because I want to do that. And I love I've never heard of a Tessin before. I think I want to do some research into it, because it sounds amazing. Like, if Gwendolyn had a fan, like, it totally suits her kind of steampunk Jane Austen aesthetic to have a fan, and then for it to be a weapon as well. I mean, that sounds badass.
That would be super cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely, because at the moment she's got her spear, which is great, but like, it was something she hastily grabbed as she was like running away from her wedding. It's ornamental. It's not really like, it's okay, but it's not really her. Like her like her darts, they're something very special to her. They're something that her mentor Kasula gave to her, and they're beautiful and they mean a lot, and she will go through blood and guts to make sure she retrieves those. But the spear, I think, yeah, she needs something different, so I'm going to be looking into that.
That is a really cool idea, and I love the idea of this corset as well. Maybe something Gwendolyn needs to speak to Orin about?
Oh, that's a great idea. Get like Orin to like artifice her some sort of fabulous corset. Like, if I'm not using it as armor, but as something else, that'd be cool.
Okay, I hope
ideas.
Ben is listening. So
thanks,
you can start coming
fans, for giving us all these ideas
absolutely.
to make our things
and
better.
Fan art as well.
Oh my god, ideas! We don't need to do any more thinking. Huzzah!
Gonna see Grace with a Grace with a dragon.
It's molding into Grace. Grace and Chris's.
Grace and Chris.
I love Grace.
Grace.
Grace is now what I'm going to call you from now on. I love it.
Oh, Grace.
Oh dear. And now
makes me sound adorable.
It does.
on to another question, and this is a question for Quiz. So we've got another Patreon question, and this is from Karen. Does Chris prepare his songs for bardic inspiration beforehand? And a lot of these puns seem ready-made.
Oh my gosh, I wish. Oh no, I have to chalk that down to my bonkers mind. What a great question. Oh, I was not expecting that. Well played. Oh, okay, octave lower. There we go. Okay, so yeah, the songs, it's a funny one really, because I originally started out with just like on the fly doing stuff, but actually what we decided during battles was, let's just be prepared for, because we're at a medium-sized party and we want to keep the fluid, like the flow of the podcast going, that we know roughly what we're going to do in our move. Obviously that depends on the person next to us, and quite often at the time, that impacts what we do. So, I might be preparing with something, with a great song or something, and then suddenly like Grace will do something to completely upset or flip the battlefield around, and then suddenly I have to go, ooh, I can't do that, or someone's down, I've got to heal them, or But generally at the moment, what I'm playing with at the moment is like, I'm listening, but at the same time I'm just going, okay, so what song could I throw in here? What song is popular on at the moment? So at the same time, we've got to keep in mind that we're trying to, build the world and stuff. But I've been given license a little bit to have a bit of wiggle room. So I get to throw in a few like pop culture songs and things like that. So once again, please, Twitter, Facebook, help me out here. If you know any great songs that you think will relate to artificers, warlocks, anything, fire monsters, throw them at me, because I would love to know. I'm constantly thinking, and the thing is, I love puns. I love puns. It's the lowest form of wit, and I love that. So I will. My role in life is to make my friends' eyes roll.
Just such
you
dad
do that
jokes,
very
and I love
well.
it.
Yeah, I'm the young. Yeah, absolutely.
You are the youngest, but with the daddest sense of humour. Well, I say that. I think Ben is a close rival.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And Daddy Chris, as we've just had in the chat.
No, that's a great question. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for that one, Karen. Okay, back to a question for you both. And this is from @helicopters on Instagram, who asks, what have been your highlights of the campaign so far? And then in brackets, they've put, assuming the most agonizing moment was in episode 8. ... So Grace, what's your highlight been?
It's hard to pick because every single game is a fucking delight.
Yeah.
I just like every time we play together, it's just wonderful and I enjoy it so much. And then I'm listening back to it, editing and going, that was good. If that doesn't sound too like involved in our own podcast, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm so proud of what we're making right now. So like, I would definitely say episode 8 was definitely one of the most agonizing. I think all of us, we took like a few days to recover from that, and was in floods of tears during that.
I think your listeners did as well.
Good,
Genuinely.
good. We went through the pain together, team. I appreciate that.
We came out the other side.
We came out the other side and we kept on making episodes.
Despite that bastard DM.
But my highlights, it's so hard to decide because there's so many wonderful moments.
Just things that pop out to you straight away.
I mean, the battle with the Vondells.
Yes.
It was
I
epic.
was going to say that was
sick.
a highlight for me as well.
It was so good, and there's so as well for an episode that's pretty much all battle. The way that David crafted it to make it have these different levels to it, and we did not know what was going to hit us next. Like with everything that happened with the time warping of the table, the way that David expertly slipped in bits of our backstory as well. It was just.
I mean,
like,
as a
we're
fledgling DM, it blew my mind.
It blew as us players in the moment. We were just like, what are you doing? This is amazing.
It was honestly I've never gone down such a roller coaster during a game. number 8 as well. Episode 8 would have to be on my list straight away as being like, wow, what a moment of great drama. It was like I like when Game of Thrones was out, I used to watch like the Bullingdon Bar, which was like these YouTube clips of like basically this bar in LA, and they'd be packed with people and they'd all go in there just to watch episodes of Game of Thrones, and you'd be great because you'd see those moments that we all know from that show, and like they'd all react at the same time, and that was a moment for me where I was like, no, and I had to get up and walk away from the screen. But yeah, number 8. I think for me, I love Gwen Frosted. I do. I love Gwen Frosted.
Getting to play that was so much fun. Like I personally at that time, I just needed to be able to let go. And it was like suddenly, like, I mean, we're going back to D&D as therapy, but getting to just go, I don't have to worry about nothings because my character is off a face. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice that also flowed into the card game, though, which I thought was a really, really good moment for everyone, because it was like, it was high stakes, but there was such joy in that room. Like, even from the people who were potentially taking your money, they, like, I think David had a lot of fun playing those characters and just like, oh, all right, yeah, up the stakes, cool.
I have to, then I'm gonna have to say, like, Gaius just like casually chatting and just knowing he's there in a cravat, mask, and his wang out.
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
I crease I've re-listened to that episode a few times and I die because I'm just like, Guy is just so cash. He's just taking it in his stride.
That was the funny thing. I just like I couldn't be there for those 2 weeks because of scheduling situations. And David and I were just like, okay, so where is Guy? How does he come back into it? And the idea just popped up like, oh, he's definitely like in a card game somewhere, and oh, he's definitely lost everything he's owned, and oh, he'll be naked, and oh, and then but the idea of like how he was going to turn up was like totally down to David, and I was just like blown away by like straightforward, just like, and he's bollock naked, and you've opened a door. It was brilliant. I loved it.
I genuinely laughed out loud when I think David asked you the question. It's like, Guy, have you had any frosting? And you being naked, everyone was like, yeah, of course you. And you, no, I'm just naked.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Gwen Frosted, absolutely episode 8, Bombshell. I did love, I must say, I have very fond memories of our first ever recording, Grace, of us just like sitting around the campfire, and just like chatting and stuff like that, and just actually getting down to like knowing who Gwen was. And I will say as well, like in the last couple of episodes we've recorded, there have been some moments where I've been like, whoa, this is next level stuff, or whoa, that I can't believe that just happened. So I'm going to like hold it out and say, guys, you got to listen to some of the next episodes coming out, because there are some doozies.
Yeah, like, I mean, now I'm thinking, like, I have a moment that I love from almost every single episode, and it's probably not worth me listing it all off. But like, yeah, it is. I just think we've hopefully found our stride with it now, and like, we never like we sit down for a record, and we always just like, the fuck was this gonna happen? Like, what is going on right now? And it just, I mean, like, it's such a gorgeous group of actors and friends to be recording with and playing with. Like, we get to be like actors doing acty things, and it's so lovely. And then just like with David at the helm, it's, I mean, I feel very lucky.
Yeah, you're in safe hands to just improvise, really.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he looks after us so well, and just so many more wonderful moments like Dave, like so many more wonderful moments like Chris says are on the horizon as well. So it's just like, wow.
And just the thing, and to throw out one more thing, which is like not just the moments that happen in game, but the things that happen out of game. So like, you know, there's loads of D&D podcasts out there in the world, and they all have their various own fan bases and things like that. But actually, like, the community that we're building, in my opinion, is like it's fantastic, because, you know, there are these ideas being thrown at us, and there seems to be like a small but growing community of people who are loving this narrative, loving this story, loving the issues being brought up, and it's just exciting for us to share that and to tap into them, and to share with them, and to sort of like live through this warped reality that we're all sort of sharing, this collaborative world. It's cool.
It's the same for me, actually, because there've been a few people. Obviously, you know, I talk about the podcast a lot, and I mention it to others. There's people that play my game that now listen to it and are fully caught up, and will message me like, "Oh my god, this just happened." And the new one is my sister has started listening to it as well, who claims she never listens to podcasts because she doesn't have the time. But I think she's about to start episode 8.
Ooh.
So I kind of she said how much she loved episode 7 and the whole like
Excellent.
tomorrow detail. But
Which
yeah.
has just come up in the chat, actually.
Are we in tomorrow? Yeah. It has to be, again, another fantastic moment. Oh my gosh. And you know what? Not even prompted by the DM himself, but by our very own Vicky and Ben.
I should mention some of these that are in the chat. There's a really good one. I loved Chris realising that casting disguise self in a crowd waiting to execute a shapeshifter was not the best idea.
No, that was brilliant. That was so good. And I did roll that dice. I was like, oh no. And David was like, do you want to back out? And I was like, I don't know. I'll let the dice decide because
That's one
I've
thing I
said
like
it.
about the way that you play is like, it would be so easy for that to be an out and be like, oh no, I don't do that, obviously. But you're like, well, actually, Guy isn't as street smart as that. Maybe he does go and do it. Which again is committing to the bit.
I gave myself a fair modifier. I was like, okay, if it's 4, 5, or 6, I'm gonna do it. But if I said if it was 5 or 6, I commit. But if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I won't do it. So I did give myself that like sort of like probability against me. But if the dice decide it, the dice decide it.
Yeah, I mean, fair. You don't want to get yourself like killed, so give yourself a fighting chance.
Yeah.
I look forward to the bonus episode of like Gwen and Gaius in a prison somewhere, just being like, well, that went poorly. Amazing. Shall we have another question? So this one is for Grace from, another good name, from at Gerominus Cobimus Maximus on Instagram.
Great name.
Who asks, Gwendolyn's ex-husband, Dwayne Fabulosa, is such an interesting and mysterious part of her backstory. Any plans to eventually have him appear on the show, or will he remain an unseen legend?
Ooh.
Oh, that's interesting. Like, I'm not sure how I, Grace, feel about it, because I'm not sure if I've decided how Gwendolyn's going to deal with it if Dwayne actually turns up. Because
We're all looking forward to that.
I mean, if it ever happens, I'm sure it'll be fabulous, but I need to be more prepared for when that happens. Oh no, don't say you've got plans, David. I don't like the sound of that. I mean, it's an awkward one because she said he's her husband. He's not really her husband. They were betrothed, I think is the best you can possibly say. But at the moment, she's still working out how she feels about him. Like she's kind of totaling it up to he's must be a bit of a dick because he has left me. So maybe I just need to get over him. Sod that, whatever. But then, he was an opportunity for her to get away from her home and out of a marriage that she really didn't want to be in. So I think she was genuinely swept up with the romance of it all.
Yeah. First love, I'm assuming?
We'll let that play out. Definitely, there might be another love. But you guys will find that out eventually.
Just out of interest, what do you think has been the big 1 or 2 moments of the things to make Gwendolyn develop and change as a character? What are can you pinpoint what the events that made her go oh, okay, I've reflected on myself as this, and now I've grown. So for example, my real question is if we ever meet Dwayne, will he still recognize a lot of Gwendolyn, or will he be more oh wow, this is a completely different person?
I think she's stronger. She's been through some shit since he last saw her, and part of her is going to be frustrated with him because if he hadn't left her, she wouldn't have had to go through that. But then also, on the other hand, she is standing on her own 2 feet. She's realizing her worth, and she kind of is realizing that she is useful, that she can be good in a tight situation. I think part of the I don't know if this is, but like part of the reason she ended up getting put into this marriage with her family, like, is because she wasn't really doing anything good for the family business. So something useful she can do was make a powerful marriage.
She wasn't depended upon, whereas now she is.
No, she was. It was like, well, what do we do with Gwendolyn? Let's marry her off. Sort of like it had got to that situation because she just kept on letting the family down in her own different ways. I'm probably giving far too much away.
No, I mean, I'm just sat here like
Dish.
Sorry,
Spill the tea.
guys, I'm giving it all. But I think she's now kind of. I mean, like, she gets confused because she doesn't know where she sits with Enkidu because, like, she thinks, well, like, he thinks she's worthless. But I think that's more because she's still learning that she can be useful. So, yeah. I don't. So I think she will be different to how he left her. But I think she wouldn't know how she felt about him until she met him again. So hopefully, me as an actor, I don't have to deal with that for too much, like, anytime soon, because I haven't fully decided.
I mean, I'm a bit worried for him, if I'm honest, because Gwendolyn is a badass and she always hits first. So, and I think, I mean, you say like Enkidu and Gwendolyn have their friction, but I can see Enkidu like getting the brass knuckles out, going down.
I think Juna would be the one to like square up to this chap straight away and be like, pow, pow, pow.
Sorry, I have to move on to the next question because it does relate, and I think this might have been edited as we've been chatting. But for Chris, this is a question from, all in caps, everyone. What's
There've been conspiracy in the chat.
Yeah, this is a big conspiracy the whole way through. But yeah, what's under Guy's mask? Is he actually Dwayne?
Oh, okay. Well, well, I can confirm one thing, which is that Guy is not Dwayne. And that's probably obvious as well for the fact that Guy is a half-elf and Dwayne is a halfling? Or is he an elf? Or
I don't think I've said... I think it's just... all I've said is he's got blue hair.
I was going to say he
bard.
does have blue hair, but
He's got blue hair. That is the most important thing.
Okay,
that is the only character trait I've chosen.
Yeah, so the blue hair
handsome,
is dominant.
He's a bard, he's fabulous, and he's got blue hair.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, long story short, like, yeah, no, he's not Dwayne, sadly. But he is just as fabulous.
Shocker.
Or he likes to believe he is.
What?
For what's underneath his mask, I don't want to reveal that. But what I will say is that on various different platforms, there are clues. So I would encourage those of you who want to find out that Easter egg, they need to have a look at our social media. They need to have a look on there because there are clues there. And you can start piecing those puzzle pieces together to start getting a bigger picture.
This is from Ashley Hooch Dangerfield, great name again, on Facebook, who says, "My birthday is close to when you record, and it would be an awesome gift to have a question asked." So this is for Chris. What were you tempted to get the others to do while they were frosted? So while you think about that, there's also a question for Grace, which is, what do you think will be the fallout of Gwendolyn being saved by Oren if they have to return to Rosthall? Do you think this will have an unknown effect on your family name? So yeah, Chris, did you have any like temptations when they were frosted?
So I think for me, it was tempting. As a player, it was tempting to be like, right, backstories. Here we go, everybody. We're releasing everything. But at the same time, you know, there was a really interesting I thought that it was a weird feeling that sort of crept in where I was like, these are my friends, and they're not in a state to give their consent about their deepest, darkest secrets. Even though I could get their deepest, darkest secrets, I was super tempted. But there was just a weird part of me where suddenly I was like, I don't feel like that's right, and it went through. And I was like, at the end of the day, like I want them to tell Guy of their own volition. And you know, Guy keeps secrets. Guy's got many secrets, and he wouldn't want someone to have that power over him. Yeah. So I think it was more of a thing of like, pay me lots of nice compliments. Tell me how great I am, which is feeding into Guy's ego constantly. But But
He is
yeah,
a
no,
good
I
guy.
was other than paying Guy great compliments and also like occasionally just being like, if you want to buy me around, go ahead. If you want to get me a chocolate cake every Sunday, that'd be great. But I wasn't thinking of anything further intrusive wise.
Well, he's developing more and more of a conscience as the series goes on, particularly when his friends are involved. So I think it's quite sweet that we know as the listener, because you told us, that temptation was there, but that he's choosing to go against his baser instincts and stuff.
I think that's something Chris does so beautifully as an actor, is showing us how torn Gaius is. I love every time when he's having a moment of he's having a bit of a moral quandary. He's like, do I do this? And I love, I'm sorry everybody else doesn't get to watch it, but I love watching the thought process on Chris's face. And you hear it through the I'm not sure, but it's wonderful. It's so fun to get to see as an actor, seeing how, like you say, his moral compass is kind of developing.
Yeah, because I think and it goes for everybody at the start of this campaign, especially. I think for everyone, but I think Guy sees himself as a survivor, as a person who's been out on the road for a really long time, and he's a self-preservation is his point, and to be with this group now and to have shared these experiences and start to develop this family connection, he just feels like he couldn't do that to them. I think Guy, 2 months ago would have done something completely different to now.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Okay, amazing. Grace, then, do you think there's going to be a fallout? Any kind of tarnishing of the Rose family name from that?
I really think she's been throwing the Rose family name around, and I'm starting to go, oh shit. She's just waltzed into this house, the Red House, and they've just got them in. Oh wait, cool, I got us into Swanky Digs. Oh, but also we're now around somebody actually quite dangerous. And I think until we actually thought in the moment, none of us had really thought, oh shit, actually being around what was his name, Klain, being around Klain would be as dangerous as it was, and we kind of all realized that together. I'm interested to know what Klain is thinking, because he's come into contact with this group of people. He's gonna find out that he has been impersonated and that we have got the hell out of Dodge. Whether he thinks that we have helped the Faceless Footman get out, whether it's us rather than the Hex, there could be some serious consequences from that. And I think that's what's making Gwendolyn realizing, oh, okay, I've been just very trigger happy with throwing my weight around and my family around. So I think that's something she's going to have to think about.
Yeah, it was a good tactic up until the point where it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought about the ongoing repercussions of that. I'm quite excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, man.
Nope.
And like I say, David is listening.
He's always listening.
He's always listening. Amazing. Thank you so much for those questions. And happy birthday as well, Ashley. Okay, next question. This is for both of you. Kind of says more for Chris, this first one. This is from Michael Cook, who asks, will Bessie ever be returned?
Ha! No.
No, I didn't think so.
No, I refuse. Guy has a few possessions in life, but he loves that animal. That animal and him that animal's been with the group for a really long time, and Guy really takes care of Bessie, and I feel like Bessie's in it for the long haul. She's now a part of the group. In Guy's eyes,
he's the only person that actually remembers that she's there, which is nice.
There's been some great fan art about that. I've seen some great fan
Hannah
art.
Clancy did some great fan art of Gaius, which is fab.
I'm waiting for because at the moment I'm using the verb park Bessie quite a lot, so I'm waiting for some sort of charm where I can have a beep beep, and she just stays somewhere.
I think Gwendolyn still feels a bit guilty about Alfred, but I think she can see the bond that Gaius has with Bessie, and it's kind of oh, I can't make him send his horse back. And how could we get Bessie back, really?
I think
we've been traveling.
She's as much a part of the party now as any member.
Yeah.
For Guy, it's if he doesn't know you very well, then he doesn't care. So he was just oh, there's this horse that we got, and It's ours now.
Yeah.
Rule the road, man. If you can, if it's not bolted down, take it.
I mean, she did survive like zombie creatures.
I
as well.
know.
Yeah.
This horse
she was running around
deserves
the
to be with
lockout
you.
whole wood.
Absolutely. Well,
Jeez.
when we're all like ashes, this horse will be just chomping on some grass, chilling out.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's like a level 6 barbarian horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was watching Vicky in the chat there, who just nearly spurted out all of her drink. Okay, we have another question from Michael Cook, and this one is for Grace. So where did the inspiration for the Way of Decorum come from?
So, like, I mean, I was looking at all the subclasses that were available for Monk, and I was just like, these don't really suit Gwendolyn. Like, her Monk training has been a very much a one-on-one situation. Her trainer is somebody who was working for the Rose family, like as part of, you know, the various different strands of their security. It's kind of like more personal security, and it was mostly a way of like dealing with Gwendolyn's temper tantrums. Really, it's like a way of kind of instilling some discipline in her. And so I was just like, how, like, do we actually like make that part of her subclass? And so I kind of was to David, I said, like, can we combine a monk class with finishing school, basically? And so it's kind of this subclass that David's created has got a mixture of a mixture of all like some of the security stuff that she has got from her family, but also that kind of training her to be a respectable young noble who can be married off, or, you know, can work for the family as personal security and that sort of thing. So I really wanted to have this idea of finishing school meets monk training, and that is what David created for me, because he's amazing.
For huge fans of like Pride and Prejudice and D&D,
Yeah.
like the Way of Decorum is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I mean, I don't think
love
it's going to
it.
be long before D&D Beyond start, you know, approaching David for the rights, you know, to put that up there. If Critical Role can do it, why can't you?
Absolutely. I love the Way of Decorum. I think Grace is doing such a great job with it. I love all that aspect.
It's really intriguing, genuinely.
It's
Partly
fun.
because I can't go all meta and just be like, I know exactly what's going to happen to you at level 10.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, believe it or not, I do like to do because I'm just that kind of player. Thank you very much for that question, Michael. So, next one. Question for both of you. This is from Twitter, from Stuart Townend, who asks, if I may be cheeky and ask another question, there are some real emotional parts in the podcast, and I just wondered if this is just superb acting ability, or if the immersion of the storytelling experience actually makes any of the players feel that emotion. Now, I reckon probably episode 8, definitely, but are there like other parts in this where like the emotion came through genuinely, or, you know, do you get so wrapped up in it, or is it like, no, my character would be feeling this, so it's then the acting?
I mean, I'm a very emotional person anyway, and so I am an emotional player, and I do get very much wrapped up in it. So, like, you know, I can feel my face getting flushed when Gwendolyn and Enkidu are having their like moments, and I can feel like the frustration of just like, you just don't understand me, but I'm trying to keep it nice and calm, and I'm better than you. Not necessarily better, but no, she's just frustrated because he doesn't understand her. But she's trying to keep herself poised and calm and that sort of thing. And yeah, any moments where we're in a genuine scene and we're having those moments, you're seeing as well, like, what the other actors are giving you. It's hard not to be wrapped up in it, because you're just like, I mean, it's amazing. Like, we're not in the same room, but we are actually in Zoom, and you get to see very close to somebody's face. You get to see if they're welling up. You get to hear that choke in their voice, and yes, it's emotional.
Yeah. I think it's a testimony as well to the other cast members, like you say, because they're giving you so much. You feel like you're giving it back. You have to give it back, and not in like a way that's artificial, but in a way that like is is very like keeping the ball up in the air. It's very Meisner, which is a practitioner that I know a few actors in particular love. I just think it's D&D. It's D&D. That's what brings people to this. That's what keeps these people in this game. You know what I mean? It's the storytelling aspect. It's when that music comes on, or when someone uses that description, you go, oh yeah, or you know, you feel that chill down your spine, and that does something to you. It takes you out of the room you're in at the moment. And for me as well, like there is like a level of catharticism. Did I say that word right? Catharticism.
I'm not going to attempt to correct
you. You know what I mean?
Ben?
Where it's allowing you to feel something that like you kind of like what you said, Grace. It's like almost therapy, but like at the same time, my thing is that I can't let that get in the way of the story. It's not about me like breaking down and crying, but it's about getting through that. And like I think that's an amazing part. And Catholicism.
I don't think that is.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it.
I'm so glad you said that out loud.
Anyway,
that was from David.
But basically, like what I really enjoy about D&D is that like it's about bringing the emotion, but it's not about staying in the emotion. It's like we've got to get on. There are things at stake, and that's the fun thing about it.
But
otherwise,
you
we
are
all
emotionally invested.
Yeah. We are
Because
emotionally
your
invested,
character,
but no,
you've got this bond with them and with the other people's characters as well. That there's a sense of realism in it, that you want these people to do well, you want them to succeed, and you want them to live. Like, you know,
Can't be bothered to make up a new character, you know.
I love making up new characters, but it does come to a point when suddenly you go like, oh, I don't want him to die, I don't want her to die, and like, yeah, those are really cool moments. That it surprises us. It surprises me every time that I feel a strong emotion in D&D, and like, you know, I've been playing it for a while now, so yeah.
I got really nice emotional vibes when you were all buying presents for each other. And I felt like I was feeling that of you guys, of like, I really do want to get this for Orin, and I can't really afford it, so I'm going to use my character's ways to get her. I get that. I got the emotion there.
There's definitely some feels like, you know, they're starting to care about each other quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
But I've got a linked question to this, which follows up this question, and this is from Sophia Murphy again, who asks, cheeky second question, if I may. These are both second questions. As you're all theatre people, how is it doing a show without the immediate audience energy or feedback?
I think we're each other's feedback.
Yeah.
Like, we're right that we're all in there watching it. Like, when we're not in a scene or we're not like actively playing, we're audience. We're loving what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. It's a game. It's a game. Like, we do it to make each other laugh. We do it to make each other cry. You know what I mean? Like, in a rehearsal, the story comes first, the characters come first, and then you have to think about choreographing it to allow the audience in. Whereas with us, it's like our audience is right next to us. It's listening. So yeah, it's like that doesn't come into my mind at all. We're just playing these characters, playing the game, really.
Yeah. And also we do get audience feedback eventually when they tweet about it, or like friends who listen to it text us and go, oh my god, this just happened.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. Like,
absolutely. And that's becoming a part
a
of it as
different
well.
way. I love it.
Oh, cute.
Tell us what you think.
I mean, I always tell you what I think, and I think you're incredible. I think we've got time for maybe a couple of questions before we wrap up for the night. So, a question for both of you. This is from Ashley Hooch Dangerfield, who asks, what is the stupidest thing you've ever had happen during a game? And they have put in brackets, not necessarily no small roles. So this can be any game. Was the most stupid thing that's happened to you? Chris, I'm trying to think of some that you may have been in other games.
Yeah, because
what's coming to mind for you?
I know, yeah, like me and Sam, for anyone out there, have been in a previous campaign together for a long time. Stupidest things, I think, like disastrous things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's two things that come to mind. I'll be very quick with them. One which was when I was a DM, and one when I was a player. When I was a DM, I was describing this castle. The party had just arrived inside it, and I gave them three options. There's some stables at the back, there's a tower over there, and there's a door over there. And I was like, totally sure. I knew exactly what was going to happen when they went in there. And then last minute, I just threw in some like extra details, like, oh, there's some scattered bones in the corner over here. There's a well. There's a few buckets that are hanging loosely from. And then one of my character players just went straight away. I jumped down the well, and I went, and I had to like suddenly invent what was at the bottom of this well, and that was like a big mistake, a big like blunder of me. But the other time when I was a player was I went into the Feywild. And I was this big, epic paladin. And we came across this demonic gingerbread man who I ended up making friends with. And it was the stupidest thing. But I ended up, making friends with this demonic gingerbread man to the point when it became my little sidekick. And then when we came out of the Feywild, the DM, who's a good friend of mine, basically was just like, you turn around, Aeneas, and, all your party are there. But you see a lifeless biscuit that's on the floor. As you've just returned to the reality of our world. And I was just like, oh. And then he said after a brief second, and then his head pops up and gives you a smile, and I was like, oh, Gingy. So yeah, there's two very stupid mistakes. Like, one, a paladin shouldn't be making friends with demonic pastry. And two, don't underestimate your players.
I mean, it's become a big part of that gaming group as well. Like Secret Santa that we had one year, they gave you the gingerbread man in like armor and with a weapon and stuff. Like I've put it in artwork for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great. What about you, Grace? What's been like an absolute blunder?
I mean, I'm sure there's been plenty. I do remember being in a game and a fellow player jumping into a well as well. It's obviously a running theme. He decided that we were trying to fight these twig blights, and he decided that he was just going to run straight over this 20-foot well in really heavy armor. It did not go well. But that I definitely remember that just being like our whole party was just like, what the fuck is going on? I think as a player, like I've definitely had a moment where once again Gregor Jones was trying so desperately to just buy a silver flask off somebody, and they didn't want to give it. So Gregor is like up in the charm as much as he possibly can, and so they're like, okay, right, yeah, let's deal for it. Let's do a card game. So Gregor's like, yes, here is all of my money. I'm putting it all in, and just like I think there's still a screenshot around of the rest of the players with their heads in their hands as just. That Gregor just gave away all his money to get a silver flask for a mission which they never used. And now he is a were-tiger, and he probably won't be able to use that flask anymore. So,
oh my gosh. That's made that even worse.
Yeah, like he's going to be like using his flask, and it just like slowly starts sizzling his lips.
I keep forgetting that you're a were-tiger.
So do I. And it came up in the last game that Gregor was a were. I was like, oh yeah, brilliant. But like my character Gregor, he's a very flamboyant bard gnome who looks fabulous in a dress with all his hairy chest as well. Like he is, he's basically a drag queen, but not quite dedicated enough to be a drag queen because he just is. He's the most masculine gnome in a dress you've ever seen. And so just like whenever somebody's like, oh yeah, and he's a were-tiger, I'm just like, yeah, he's going to love that.
Yeah.
He's going to be like Tony the Tiger, but like fabulous.
Just the ever-increasing chest hair on a full moon.
Yeah, it's getting more ginger as well. Oh, fab.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, I think we've got time for one final question for both of you. And this is from our friend at Gerominus Cobimus Maximus, who asks, how did you all get so fly?
How did we all get so fly?
Yeah, Chris, how did you get so fly?
As in, so cool?
So fly.
So fly.
Yeah.
That is... I just blew a raspberry just for our listeners' benefit. I did not just do a massive fart.
That's how I fly.
pressured questions make you flatulent.
I know,
I fly
yeah.
down the seat
So
of my
much.
pants.
So much so. I think it's
Gas-powered.
I think it's because I don't rate myself as, so therefore I am. In a weird philosophical manner. I don't know. I don't know why I'm so fly, but I guess I am.
Thank you, Geronimus, Cobonimus, Maximus, for thinking we are fly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for thinking we're fly, yeah.
We appreciate that.
Well, we've heard why Chris thinks he's fly, but Grace, why are you fly?
I ain't.
I think you fly. Anyway,
Thanks. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much for that one, Geronimus.
I love it.
Oh god, I really hope everybody's enjoyed listening tonight. I think we've had a lot of fun here, and to our Patreon subscribers who are in the chat, and to those of you who are at home and couldn't be with us tonight, thank you so much for your support. Please remember, if you do want to support the show, you can sign up on Patreon. There are many different levels that you can sign up to, all of which have amazing perks and bonus content, and you get to come join the fun with us here, so why not? You know? It's a great idea. You get to support the show, you get to join in with this, you get to ask our questions, and we always have a little chat and a roundup afterwards where people get to hang out. And if I know David, there is always more bonus content on the horizon. So, now is a good time to sign up. And I think that's all we've got time for here. So thank you so much to Chris and to Grace and to our Patreon members and to everybody else who is here in the chat, keeping the chat alive. We love you. And we can't wait for next time. Can we unmute everybody a sec so that we can all say goodbye together?
Shall we establish what we're saying as well?
No, I think it's more fun when we don't.
I don't.
That's why you know fly.
That's exactly why.
Is everybody ready? We're going to say the 3-word version.
Excellent.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. And now.
Ben here, popping in to say a big thank you to Grace Kelly Miller and Chris Watts for joining us for No Small Questions. Huge thanks as well to our superfan Sam Oakes and to all the superfans from Patreon who joined us live and put their questions to the cast. If you've been listening to the episode and pondering how you can join in with the chat as it happens, well, ponder no more. Our next No Small Questions is being recorded on Wednesday, the 17th of March. And once again, our Patreon supporters will be able to join us for the conversation live. Answering your questions next time will be our favourite mage hand-wielding warlock, Daryl Bailey. And the man with 1,000 spanners, me! Sorry, Ben Galpin. Keep it professional, Ben. You can find out more about our teacup, teapot, and tea caddy Patreon levels, and our new teaspoon level as well. And sign up to help support our show at patreon.com/No Small Rolls. Each level comes packed with perks, including shoutouts, homebrewed subclasses, early access to episodes, and some of David's original music to enjoy or even use to spice up your own home games. As ever, you can find us on social media. We're at No Small Rolls on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook by searching for No Small Rolls. Rolls is spelt with a double L, as in the double L at the end of small, or fool, or the double L at the start of Dylan Thomas's fictional Welsh town, Cladogib. We'll be back next Sunday with episode 27. Right, I'm gonna go and think about which